Feminist theology is a movement found in several religions, including Buddhism, Christianity, Judaism, and New Thought, to reconsider the traditions, practices, scriptures, and theologies of those religions from a feminist perspective. Some of the goals of feminist theology include increasing the role of women among the clergy and religious authorities, reinterpreting male-dominated imagery and language about God, determining women's place in relation to career and motherhood, and studying images of women in the religion's sacred texts and matriarchal religion. Methodology. Feminist theology attempts to consider every aspect of religious practice and thought. Some of the questions feminist theologians ask are: how do we do theology? The basic question of how theologians may go about creating systems of thought is currently being reinterpreted by feminist theologians. Many feminist theologians assert that personal experience can be an important component of insight into the divine, along with the more traditional sources of holy books or received tradition. Who is God? Feminist theologians have supported the use of non- or multi-gendered language for God, arguing that language powerfully impacts belief about the behavior and essence of God. Where are women in religious history? Feminist historical theologians study the roles of women in periods throughout history that have impacted religion. The biblical period, the early Christian era, medieval Europe, and any period of import to a particular religion. They study individual women who influenced their religion or whose religious faith led them to impact their culture. The work of these scholars has helped feminist theologians claim historical figures as their predecessors in feminist theology. For example, Sojourner Truth's "Ain't I a Woman?" speech pointed out, and how came Jesus into the world? Through God who created him and the woman who bore him. Man, where was your part? Elizabeth Cady Stanton produced the Woman's Bible, excising the traditional Christian text of all references she thought contradicted the positions of women's rights. Development of theology. According to Grenz and Olson in their review of feminist theology, it was developed in three distinct steps. They begin with a critique of the past, such that they review the ways women have been oppressed. They seek alternative biblical and extra-biblical traditions that support the ideals feminists are trying to advance. And finally, feminists set forth their own unique method of theology, which includes the revisioning of Christian categories. Grenz and Olson also mention, however, while all feminists agree there is a flaw in the system, there is disagreement over how far outside of the Bible and the Christian tradition women are willing to go to seek support for their ideals. It has frequently been said that feminist theology draws on women's experience as a basic source of content as well as a criterion of truth. There has been a tendency to treat this principle of experience as unique to feminist theology and to see it as distant from objective, sourcive truth of classical theologies. This seems to be a misunderstanding of the experimental base of all theological reflection. What have been called the objective sources of theology, scripture and tradition, are themselves codified collective human experience. Prehistoric religion and archaeology. The primacy of a monotheistic or near-monotheistic great goddess is advocated by some modern matriarchs, a female version of, preceding, or analog to, the Abrahamic God associated with the historical rise of monotheism in the Mediterranean Axis age. Mother Nature is a common representation of nature that focuses on the life-giving and nurturing features of nature by embodying it in the form of the mother. Images of women representing Mother Earth and Mother Nature are timeless. In prehistoric times, goddesses were worshipped for their association with fertility, fecundity, and agricultural bounty. Priestesses held dominion over aspects of Incan, Assyrian, Babylonian, Slavonic, Roman, Greek, Indian, and Iroquoian religions in the millennia prior to the inception of patriarchal religion. Gender and God. Others who practice feminist spirituality may instead adhere to a feminist reinterpretation of Western monotheistic traditions. In those cases, the notion of God as having a male gender is rejected, and God is not referred to using male pronouns. Feminist spirituality may also object to images of God that they perceive as authoritarian, parental, or disciplinarian, instead emphasizing maternal attributes such as nurturing, acceptance, and creativity. Carol P. Christ is the author of the widely reprinted essay, Why Women Need the Goddess, which argues in favor of the concept of there having been in ancient religion of a supreme goddess. This essay was presented as the keynote address to an audience of over 500 at the Great Goddess Re-Emerging Conference at the University of Santa Cruz in the spring of 1978, and was first published in Heresies, The Great Goddess Issue, PGS 8-13. Carol P. Christ also co-edited the classic feminist religion anthologies Weaving the Visions, New Patterns in Feminist Spirituality and Woman Spirit Rising. The latter included her essay Why Women Need the Goddess. New Thought movement. New Thought as a movement had no single origin, but was rather propelled along by a number of spiritual thinkers and philosophers and emerged through a variety of religious denominations and churches, particularly the Unity Church, Religious Science, and Church of Divine Science. It was a feminist movement in that most of its teachers and students were women. Notable among the founders of the movement were Emma Curtis Hopkins, known as the Teacher of Teachers, Myrtle Fillmore, Melinda Kramer, and Nona L. Brooks, with its churches and community centers mostly led by women, from the 1880s to today.